If you think you might have mold illness, there are some symptoms that you might consider, and I wanted to share some of the symptoms I had. I'm gonna have to read them because there are quite a few. Chronic pain, abdominal pain, blurry vision, stroke-like symptoms, blood clots, memory problems, word recall, palpitations, dyspnea, body temperature regulation, urinary frequency, joint pain, insomnia, weakness, disorientation, burning sinuses, neuropathy, nerve damage, paresthesia, brain atrophy, neurological problems, and anxiety, just to name a few. So these are things that I was experiencing, and lo and behold, I had mold illness, and or also known as SIRS.
So one thought would be also, because like even though you were having those, maybe we can restate that and reframe it in a way that's even more helpful.
Okay.
So even though you had these list of things, you weren't able to really treat them because you weren't treating them from the perspective of SIRS.
Exactly. Yes.
So, because, it's like if you're...
So we'll talk about the root cause.
Yeah, the pharmaceutical commercial, the list
Yes.
of side effects, it's like, well, shoot, like, I don't, like, if you're experiencing X, Y, and Z, it's like,
Yes.
it's like going to WebMD and thinking you have...
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. But even though you're experiencing this, the point to drive home is that you weren't treating it from the right starting point.
Yes.
And so none of the treatments were effective.
Okay, so I had all of these symptoms and they continued to get worse because I didn't know what I was sick with and I couldn't treat them, right? So if I knew what I had, I could treat them. And we were treating all sorts of stuff during this period. I was on nerve medicine, I was on pain medicine, but we weren't treating the root cause. And the root cause was mold, mycotoxin illness, right? But I was getting sicker and experiencing more and more of these symptoms that I'm about to share because I wasn't treating the problem. I wasn't treating the root, which was mold illness and exposure to mold. So here's just a few of the symptoms that I experienced that I want to share with you. Chronic pain, abdominal pain, blurry vision, stroke-like symptoms, blood clots, memory problems, word recall, palpitations, dyspnea, body temperature regulation, urinary frequency, joint pain, insomnia, weakness, disorientation, burning sinuses, neuropathy, nerve damage, paresthesia, brain atrophy, neurological problems, and anxiety, just to name a few.
I think that's a lot better.
I go on to say right here, I was scared, fearful, and so sick, but worked tirelessly to rule out diagnosis and to get to the root cause of my pain and suffering. Through endless doctor visits, ER trips, lab scans, test samples, prescriptions, inaccurate diagnosis, prayer, hopelessness, and desperation, I found what was making me so very, very sick. Or I could do that as like a voiceover.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can do it now. I mean, we can use it as a voiceover or record it.
Okay. I wrote some of this stuff down throughout this process to kind of capture it. And so this part talks a little bit about where I was mentally and getting through it. So I was scared, fearful, and so sick, but worked tirelessly to rule out diagnosis and get to the root cause of my pain and suffering. Through endless doctor visits, ER trips, lab scans, lab test samples, prescriptions, inaccurate diagnosis, prayer, hopelessness, and desperation, I found out what was making me so very, very sick. And it was mold in our home. I would not accept that this is just the way I'm going to be from now on. I knew deep in my heart that something was making me sick. And this was not just stress or getting older, or worse, that I was crazy and had health anxiety. I would, by the grace of God, get to the bottom of this. I did. I am.
Kind of in a weird way, like no one would ever say this normally, but almost, I would think, at least you would have the thought of it, being almost thankful that you got pneumonia.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was that part of maybe this is fungal.
Well,
And that was like the first time that anyone had said anything of
yes, and I
that.
actually wrote a thank you note to the PA who was in the ER, so I can talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I was able to put these pieces together really when I had pneumonia and I was in the ER, and the PA in the ER had suggested, like, hey, this pneumonia is not healing by typical prescription. I was not responding to the antibiotics. And she had suggested this could be fungal pneumonia. And it was in that moment that it opened up the door. Fungal, mold, like it just kind of like opened the door to that thought, to that conversation. And while it actually ended up not being fungal pneumonia, it opened the door for me to ask my husband to please test me for any type of fold, fungus, or mycotoxin. And it was with that test that we started to put the pieces together. And I'm very thankful to that PA in the ER, because without that idea or potential suggestion of what was going on with me, I'm not sure we would have solved this problem at all, really. So I'm very grateful to her. Very grateful to opening that door and helping us connect the dots.
Cool.
Yeah, that is great. I'm glad you asked that. Let me see what else. Because something that was helpful is, like you talk about going down that rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing that. And that's part of the reason I went to all these doctors, right? Is like, oh, you're peeing all the time. Go to the urologist. And the urologist is like, oh, yeah, you have interstitial cystitis. We can treat you for that. It wasn't interstitial cystitis, right? So let me look at this real quick. And I want to just like rattle off the doctors that I went to see.
Mm-hmm.
And the things it could have been, but it wasn't.
And then maybe let's just fix the hair.
Okay.
You're moving around a lot now, and so it's just
Okay, thank you.
All right, but we're good.
Okay, give me a second to look. Okay. So as I went on this journey, of course, part of this was ruling everything else out. So I want to share a list of the doctors that I went to and some of the testing that they did. So of course, I had a host of symptoms that could resemble symptoms from many other illnesses and diseases. As a result of seeing doctors ranging from family medicine, cardiologist, internist, gastroenterologist, functional medicine, endocrinologist, neurologist, ophthalmologist, orthopedist, gynecologist, urologist, physical therapist, psychologist, vascular surgeon, hematologist, muscle tester, chiropractor, pulmonologist, and ER docs, I was able to rule out the following that I was sick with: stroke, TIA, myelitis, colitis, MS, Parkinson's, cancer, pulmonary embolism, interstitial cystitis, cardiac problems, pituitary tumor, thyroid eye disease, thyroiditis, deep vein thrombosis, perimenopause, fibromyalgia, dementia, and Alzheimer's. And while I felt an incredible relief each time one of these things was ruled out, it was so frustrating at the same time, because I was having all of these symptoms and getting sicker. So I was just in this mess, trying to advocate for myself, going to this doctor, ruling this out. And again, I was in a bed, like bedridden, just sleeping and just miserable. And with the blood clotting, it was very weird, because I could like feel when my blood would clot more. It was insane. It was like part of the sensation. And I think part of that, if we go back to like the description of the pain and what I was experiencing, as I understand it, with my blood clotting, it was keeping oxygen from getting to my nerve endings. And so my nerve endings were freaking out. And that's why I was having all of this like pain and like zinging throughout my body. Yeah.
Okay, so I have another question for you.
Okay.
Okay, so because of the journey, have your thoughts changed or evolved about our medical system and how we approach sickness or diagnosing it?
Yes. So when I think about medicine. I mean, I have so many feelings about it. I think there is a time and a place for conventional medicine. I think there's a time and a place for integrative medicine. I did feel really, really dismissed. And I did feel like the doctors were very quick to diagnose me as a head case. And that's what was so frustrating is, I'm well educated. I was not making this up. And I just got sent from doctor to doctor. Okay, well, I can't fix you, go to this doctor. Okay, I'm dismissing you, go to this doctor. And I was the one having to connect the dots. I was the one having to advocate and push for the questions and ask for more testing and all of these things. Now, I did go back after I started feeling better and I knew I was on the right track. I went back to every doctor I had and I told them what had happened to me. I told them I had been tested, done blood work, everything confirmed mold illness. They found mold throughout our house and informed these doctors so that should they have a patient like me where they're throwing their arms up like, you got me, that possibly they could consider mold. And actually, I was at the cardiologist a couple weeks ago and got cleared, which is great. And he shared with me that his own wife, they had had a leak in their house and they had to move out for 18 months, totally remodel and rebuild the house, that his wife was sick for several years from mold illness. So it's interesting. Once you experience it, then maybe you acknowledge it. But otherwise, it's a hard pass. And still sometimes when I bring this up, people still think I'm crazy, like, well, yeah, whatever. And it absolutely was. I'm out of the mold environment. I am detoxing. I am healed. I was in the mold environment. I was sick. I was getting sicker. Patients are going to have to advocate for themselves. Try to record everything that you can, like all of your symptoms. And I was so tired because I was so sick, but I was so determined. And I'm so grateful again that this was not a terminal diagnosis. That was my biggest fear. And I know there are people fighting big, big battles right now. But I know that there's some battles that are being fought that are mold illness battles. And so I want to bring awareness to this. That's why I'm doing this. This is why I'm sharing my story and my resources and my symptoms and how we got to the bottom of mold illness through testing me and testing our home. If I'm being really honest with you, I think the healthcare system is a mess, and I'm really grateful for the insurance that I had, but they only let me see certain doctors, and they didn't pay for any of the integrative testing that I did, or what was really making me sick is not covered by insurance. And the stuff that I'm doing and the therapies that I'm doing to recover, which is messed up, because wouldn't you want me to be healthy? And wouldn't you want to spend your money helping me get healthy?
Yeah.
I also, shame on my builder, right? And again, we're smart people. We're like handy. My husband's moved a water heater before. When we had the water leak, when the water was coming through the can light, we immediately called the builder. They came out the next day. We got it fixed. Yes, they fixed the roof, but they did not repair the sheetrock. And that's where the problem started. And we should have thought about that. But again, there was greater purpose in what we went through. So that's not about the sheetrock, but it is about the sheetrock. Because had the sheetrock been replaced, none of this would have happened. None of it would have happened. So shame on our builder. Insurance did not help with the remediation of the house. They didn't cover the roof leak. Oh, you know what? I get a lot of questions about this. Did you sue your builder? We had a direct conversation with our builder, but unfortunately, the Texas builder lobby is really strong. And because we had it repaired, because as soon as we knew what happened, we had it remediated, we didn't let our builder in there to look at it and offer an opportunity to fix it. So we couldn't hold him liable, although he could not have fixed it and gotten a certification of remediation. We had to use a third party, like certified provider, but he was dismissed of all liability. So, yeah. And again, it was just like, man, they should have fixed the sheetrock and none of this would have happened. But it was expensive. I tried all sorts of, we can talk a little bit about the therapies. So once I did the Shoemaker protocol, and I encourage you to look that up. It's Surviving Mold is the website, survivingmold.com. I have a link to it from my website, imoldyouso.com. But there's a number of therapies that you can do. But some of the things that I did just to support my day-to-day recovery, and the number one recommendation from my doctor is sweat. Sweat those toxins out. So you can find me 1 to 2 hours, 5 to 6 times a week in the sauna, sweating it out. I do DermaShape, which is lymphatic therapy, which moves my lymph around my body and helps support the detoxification process. I also do the foot soaks, the detoxification foot soaks. And all of these are linked on my website. From a testing perspective, when we tested our house, we used an at-home test called My Mold Detective. We used a moisture meter that you can stick in your wall and understand if there's moisture in your wall. And then we used GA Environmental that came in and actually found the mold, and then we went from there. And then I used Dr. Osini, Oseni, at Alpha Care Wellness. He was really instrumental in confirming I had mold illness and the recovery process and the protocol that I would take to get to where I am today. Yeah, I mean, so this is something I've struggled with since I got my diagnosis, is why did nobody bring this up? Why did nobody suggest mold? Why didn't they think about mold in your home or mold exposure? And I don't have the answer, but nobody brought it up. Nobody brought it up. And it's just by happenstance that the PA and the ER mentioned this could be fungal pneumonia. And then we tested for mold, which led us to our answers and the root cause of my illness. But they don't. Not one physician brought it up. And I don't know if it's too woo-woo or it's too tough to diagnose, or I don't know, but I know there's a lot of people that are out there suffering, and they're suffering from mold illness. And so again, that's why I'm doing this, is to help bring awareness to this so that you can bring it up to your doctor, and they may dismiss you. Bring it up to another doctor, or go to Shoemaker protocol and find a doctor that is practicing the Shoemaker protocol and they can diagnose you. Or bring in environmental specialists into your home and have them search for mold. It is a real thing, and I don't think it's documented enough. It's not something that is diagnosable and treatable with a prescription. And maybe that's why folks aren't doing it. I don't know. Maybe. Because it's not, you're sick with SIRS or sick with mold sickness, take this, you'll get better. No, this is a process. It is a long process to detox and allow your body to heal and recover. So maybe that's it. But conventional medicine did not bring this up. Conventional medicine did not bring up the possibility that it was mold that was making me sick, taking me from a fit, sound-minded 42-year-old woman to a woman that was robbed of her health, of her able body, and of her sound mind.